Have you ever had any questions about how real estate impacts your overall financial situation?
I'm John Tatro, and this is Nick Slocum, and today we're very excited to have a local certified financial planner, Chris Ritchie with Briggs Advisory Group.
Welcome, Chris. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Nick and John. I appreciate you asking me to do this with you.
During the real estate process, we often get questions that are probably better suited for someone in the financial services industry. One that we often get from potential buyers is, should they buy or should they rent a home?
That's a great question, Nick, and that's often one that comes up when people are considering purchasing versus renting. I think there are two major factors to consider. One is lifestyle and the other is financial. From a lifestyle standpoint, do you want the responsibility of home maintenance and repairs? Do you want the ability to be able to relocate easily? And do you want the ability to be able to make changes to the property as you see fit? From a financial standpoint, there are things to consider, such as, do you want to be responsible for those home maintenance items, which can often be unforeseen, such as if the heating and cooling system breaks down, if the home needs a new roof, or any other expenses that could possibly come up. There are also other factors to consider, such as, do you have enough money for a down payment, and do you qualify for a good interest rate on a mortgage? If you're renting, you have the ability to move around freely. However, your rent is not a fixed cost. It's subject to increases from your landlord. If you're buying a home, you can often fix your costs, at least from a principal and interest standpoint. You also have the potential when purchasing a home to build equity in your home. So a portion of your mortgage payment every month will go towards the principal value of your home. So when you sell your home in the future, you're able to recoup some of that money when you close. So you can put that towards a down payment on a new home or an alternative investment. It also gives you the ability to participate in what has historically been the upward trend of the housing market.
Here's another one for you, and I'm actually in this boat right now. I'm trying to move up to a bigger home, so should I buy a new home and rent my current house, or should I sell the current house?
I was actually in a similar situation myself a few years ago. From a financial standpoint, I think there's certainly the opportunity to make money by renting out your existing house. If you can collect enough rent to cover your costs, such as your mortgage, your insurance, your taxes, and your maintenance, you can certainly make some money by doing that. You're also using the rental income to pay down your mortgage, so you're building equity in your existing property and not having to pay for it yourself. The flip side of that is you do have to be a landlord, so you would be responsible for making sure the property is up to date and working with your tenants to make sure they're happy as well on a monthly basis.
That's a great point, Chris. I have a couple rental properties myself, and it does come with a lot of pros, but also a couple of cons from time to time. So, on another point, this time of year especially, many of our clients are getting tax refunds or maybe even some bonuses from their work. If they get that extra cash that comes in the door, a common question we hear is, how should they use it? Should they pay down their mortgage? Should they invest it in another manner? What's the best thing to do with that money?
While there's no one answer for everybody, I think there's a few different things to consider that will help you come to a conclusion on that. The first is, what is your current interest rate? Are you eligible for an income tax deduction for your mortgage interest? And what is the expectation for a rate of return on an alternative investment? Alternative investments can be things such as bank accounts, CDs, stocks and bonds, but they can also be investing in other debt that you may have, such as credit cards or student loans. So while there's no one answer for everybody, I think taking all that into consideration will help you come to a conclusion. I often believe that paying down debt gives you greater financial flexibility and independence in the future, but everyone's situation is different.
Now, earlier we mentioned holding your current property or selling it. Now, someone looking to buy for investment purposes, would you say that is a sound investment? And if so, would you recommend a single-family home or a multifamily home?
That's a great question, John. Although I'm not an expert in this particular area, a few things come to mind. I would imagine that with a multifamily property, your income on a monthly basis would be a bit higher given the same purchase price as to a single-family home, because you have multiple sources of income coming in from multiple units. Your risk is also a little bit more diversified. If for some reason you had a vacancy in a unit, you still have other income sources coming in. Not all your eggs are in one basket with one tenant. Alternatively, I would imagine that a single family property would be a bit easier to maintain and manage.
So we often hear from buyers who are very surprised about how much they actually are pre-approved for when they talk with a mortgage lender. Should they actually spend that much on a home?
Great question, Nick. If money was not an object, we would all purchase the nicest home in the nicest neighborhood. Unfortunately, for most of us, that's not a reality. What I recommend most people do before they buy a house is sit down to come up with a spending plan. Things to consider are your mortgage payment, your insurance, and your taxes as far as the home goes, but you also need to fit that into the rest of your monthly budget, such as your cell phone bill, clothing, cable, internet, and all the other expenditures we all have on a monthly basis. From there, you'll be able to work with a mortgage professional that'll guide you into the best mortgage program to fit into your monthly budget.
So should buyers put down as much as they possibly can on their new home, or should they save some money for another use?
Everybody has competing goals, so deciding how much money to put down on a mortgage will be unique to each individual. Obviously, a higher down payment will result in a lower monthly mortgage payment, as well as possibly qualify you for a better interest rate. If you have enough savings to make a sizable down payment and maintain that emergency fund for taking care of that heating system when it breaks, then a sizable down payment will often give you the most flexibility in the future because your monthly payments will be lower. An alternative strategy to making a large down payment is to taking a shorter term mortgage, such as a 10 or 20-year mortgage. So while your down payment may be smaller, you'll pay the principal down faster. Another strategy is to take a 30-year mortgage, which most of us do, and just accelerate your payments by making extra principal payments as you have extra cash flow. However, if a large down payment is not feasible in your particular situation, a qualified mortgage professional will talk you through all the different programs available and help you choose one that's in your best interest.
Chris, thanks so much again for joining us today. And if anyone watching has any questions for Chris, shoot us a DM and we'd be happy to get you in touch with him and get your questions answered.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. This really all speaks to why it's important to have a team on your side looking out for your best interests.
Thanks, Nick and John. This was fun. I agree. I think consulting with your tax preparer, your financial planner, your realtor, and your mortgage professional before buying a home can make the process very successful.